Carl Jung once said, "Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate." And isn't that exactly what happens to so many of us? We mistake delays, struggles, and challenges as fate working against us, when in reality, they are signals of transformation. What feels like resistance is often the preparation for a breakthrough. You're watching this now not by chance, but because something inside you is ready to shift. This is the moment where awareness meets destiny, where the inner change begins to shape the outer world. You're seeing this right before it all changes for you. There is something remarkable about the space you find yourself in right now, something most people overlook because it feels too ordinary, too heavy, or too uncertain. That space, the one where you feel stretched thin, where doubts rise, where you wonder if all your effort has been in vain, is the very threshold before everything shifts. Life has a way of disguising transformation in the cloak of struggle. You think you're breaking down, but in truth, you're breaking open. And this breaking open is what allows the new to emerge. The old patterns, the old ways of thinking, the old versions of yourself cannot walk with you into the place you are about to step into. That is why the pressure feels so intense right before change arrives, because you are being reshaped for what's next. You see, the moments before transformation often look nothing like transformation. They feel chaotic, uncertain, and filled with resistance. Just as the night seems darkest before the dawn, so too does your life feel the heaviest before the breakthrough. You might even be tempted to think that life has abandoned you, that your efforts have gone unnoticed, that you are stuck in a cycle without escape. But what if I told you that this is the exact moment where life is rearranging itself in your favor? What if the resistance you feel is not a wall stopping you, but a doorway you are being prepared to walk through? Think of it as the seed in the soil. For so long it is buried in darkness, unseen, pressed down by the weight of the earth. But what no one sees is the silent transformation happening inside. The seed is breaking apart, its outer shell cracking, its form dissolving. To the untrained eye, it looks like destruction, but in reality, it is the birth of something new. And soon, when the time is right, the seed pushes upward, breaking through the soil to reach the light. That is where you are right now, not in the failure, not in the end, but in the very process of breaking through. Most people quit at this stage. They misinterpret the pressure as punishment, the waiting as silence, the obstacles as signs they should stop. But the truth is, these are the very signals that something is near. The pressure isn't here to destroy you. It's here to prepare you. It is carving away what no longer belongs to you, stripping you of the illusions that keep you from stepping fully into your potential. It is refining you, sharpening your awareness, and expanding your capacity so that when the change arrives, you are able to hold it, live it, and sustain it. You might feel like you are standing at the edge of a cliff, unsure of whether you will fall or fly. That uncertainty is not your enemy. It is the invitation. Life is asking you to step forward, even when you can't yet see the ground beneath your feet. The leap itself is what reveals the path. Transformation does not come to those who wait endlessly for perfect certainty. It comes to those who dare to trust that the unknown is not empty but full, not hostile but fertile. And perhaps you've noticed that the moments of greatest discomfort often precede the most beautiful seasons of your life. That heartbreak that felt like it would undo you eventually opened the door to love that was truer. That failure you thought had ended everything became the very lesson that propelled you forward. That season of waiting that seemed endless turned out to be the incubation period for the life you're now stepping into. You may not have recognized it at the time, but looking back, you see the pattern. And right now you are in that very pattern again. The moment before the shift is never glamorous. It rarely comes with clear signs and flashing lights telling you to hold on. It is subtle, quiet, often wrapped in struggle. But if you can hold steady, if you can resist the temptation to quit, if you can remember that what feels like breaking is actually remaking, then you will endure long enough to see the dawn after the dark. Life does not change suddenly because the external world shifts first. It changes because within you, a deeper readiness has been formed. And that readiness is being built in you right now, even through the weight you feel. So when you feel like you're at the edge, when you're convinced you can't go any further, when the silence feels unbearable and the waiting feels endless, know this: you are standing in the very space where transformation happens. The struggle is not a sign of your end. It is the signal of your beginning. And this is the moment, right before it all changes for you. Everything you are waiting for, everything you are hoping to see in your life, begins not outside of you but within you. The outer world is nothing more than a mirror of the inner one. And yet most people spend their lives trying to rearrange the mirror, polishing the reflection, attempting to force external change, while never addressing the place where it all originates. The truth is simple, but often overlooked: your thoughts, your emotions, and the beliefs you carry deep within are quietly creating the reality you step into each day. What you hold inside does not stay inside. It seeps into your actions, it shapes your choices, and it colors the way the world responds to you. When you wake up each morning, the state of your mind and the condition of your heart are already writing the script for the day ahead. If your thoughts are consumed with fear, then the world will seem threatening. If your emotions are heavy with doubt, then every opportunity will appear out of reach. But when your inner state carries clarity, peace, and determination, the outer world begins to shift in ways that seem almost impossible to explain. You suddenly meet the right people, the right doors open, and life feels as though it is arranging itself around you. This is not coincidence. It is alignment. Think of it as standing in front of a tuning fork. When struck, the fork vibrates, and if another fork of the same frequency is near, it too begins to vibrate. This is resonance. Your inner state functions the same way. When you live with the frequency of fear, you resonate with fear. When you live with the frequency of trust, you resonate with trust. Life reflects that back to you, echoing what you are within. And the great secret is this: you have the power to tune yourself, to choose the state you wish to live in, even in the face of circumstances that seem immovable. Most people think change begins when circumstances improve, when they get the job, the relationship, the opportunity. But it rarely works that way. Change begins the moment you decide to take command of your inner world. It begins when you no longer allow old wounds to dictate your future, when you refuse to let your fears make decisions for you, when you choose to believe that you are worthy of more than the life you have settled for. Once that decision is made inside, the outside world begins to bend toward it. But you must understand something vital: the outer change does not always happen instantly. There is a gap, a space where your inner state has shifted, but your outer circumstances have not yet caught up. This is where most people lose faith. They begin with confidence. They try to hold a higher vision, but when they do not see immediate results, they fall back into the old patterns. They return to fear, to doubt, to resignation, and so the outer world responds by returning to what it was before. That is why holding the inner state consistently is so important. Transformation requires patience, trust, and persistence. You must learn to stay aligned even when nothing around you seems to confirm your progress. And in those moments of waiting, the universe is not ignoring you. It is recalibrating, reorganizing, moving unseen pieces into place. The inner shift always precedes the outer manifestation. Just as the invisible roots of a tree form before its branches reach for the sky. You cannot demand that the branches grow before the roots are ready. In the same way, your life cannot expand outward until the inner foundation is strong enough to sustain it. The power you seek is not in controlling the external world, because that is a battle you can never truly win. The power is in mastering the inner world. If you can hold peace within, even when chaos surrounds you, the chaos will eventually quiet. If you can carry faith within, even when the evidence appears against you, life will eventually bow to that faith. And if you can keep your vision alive in the silence, even when nothing seems to move, the silence itself will eventually give way to sound. So let the change begin where it truly begins, inside of you. Do not wait for the outside world to prove that transformation is possible before you believe it. Believe it first, live it first, embody it first, and then watch how the reflection in the mirror changes. Because the outer world will always follow the inner one. There are moments in life when things happen that seem too perfectly timed to be random. You think of someone, and they call you. You're struggling with a question, and suddenly you overhear a conversation that gives you the answer. You notice a number repeating everywhere you go, or a phrase you've never thought about before suddenly appears in books, on signs, or in a stranger's words. These are not accidents. They are signs, threads woven into the fabric of your life, quietly pointing you toward alignment. And yet, most people dismiss them as coincidence because they are too accustomed to believing life is random. But when you begin to pay attention, you realize the universe has always been whispering, always guiding, always arranging small details to confirm that you are on the path you're meant to walk. Synchronicities are like markers on a hidden map. They show up when your inner state and your outer journey begin to line up, when your thoughts, emotions, and intentions are tuned in to something larger than your immediate circumstances. They are reminders that you are not walking this path alone, that there is an unseen order behind what appears to be chaos. When you recognize them, you start to understand that life is not simply happening to you, it is happening with you. But here is what makes synchronicity so powerful: it requires your awareness. If you move too fast, if you're buried in worry, if you are so consumed with fear or doubt, you will overlook the signs completely. They don't always arrive as grand revelations. More often, they appear in subtle, ordinary ways, gently nudging you, whispering that you are exactly where you need to be. And the more you train yourself to notice them, the more they seem to multiply, until it feels as if the entire universe is conspiring to reassure you that you are on track. It is easy to think that life changes only through massive effort, dramatic decisions, or monumental events. But the truth is, life often shifts through these quiet confirmations, these small alignments that remind you that there is an intelligence guiding the process. When you recognize a synchronicity, it strengthens your trust. It tells you, keep going. You're closer than you think. And that trust is what allows you to keep walking, even when the road ahead still looks uncertain. Imagine for a moment that you are lost in a forest. You have no map, no compass, only the feeling that you must keep moving. Then suddenly, you notice a stone with a marking, or a tree with a ribbon tied around it. These signs don't take you out of the forest instantly, but they reassure you that you are not wandering aimlessly. They confirm you are moving in the right direction. That is what synchronicity does in your life. It does not always hand you the outcome immediately, but it gives you enough light to take the next step. Sometimes, the signs appear right when you're about to give up. Just when you start to believe that your efforts are meaningless, life places something in your path that awakens your hope again. It could be a person who speaks the exact words you needed to hear, or an opportunity that comes at the very last moment, or even a challenge that forces you to grow in ways you didn't realize were necessary for what's coming. These are not coincidences. They are life's way of saying, stay with it. You're closer to the change than you realize. The more you open your eyes to these moments, the more you realize how connected everything is. The book that falls into your hands, the stranger who crosses your path, the conversation that seems too timely to ignore, all of these are woven into the story of your becoming. And while it may seem mysterious, there is nothing accidental about it. These patterns appear because you are beginning to see what has always been there, the subtle, guiding intelligence that brings order to what looks like chance. So do not brush aside the little signs. Do not ignore the small alignments. They are not random. They are the universe's way of showing you that your inner shift is echoing outward, that the life you are moving toward is already reaching back for you. And if you can trust those signs, if you can let them build your faith instead of questioning them away, then you will find yourself walking more boldly, more steadily, and more assuredly into the change that is already unfolding. And the truth is, none of it is coincidence. You are being guided. One of the greatest barriers to the change you long for is the inability to release what no longer serves you. We hold on so tightly to fears, to expectations, to old identities, to people and situations that have already finished their role in our journey, because we believe that letting go means losing. But in truth, letting go is not about losing, it is about creating space. It is about trusting that life has more to offer you than the small corner you have clung to out of habit or fear. When you loosen your grip, when you release the illusion of control, you do not fall into emptiness. You fall into flow. Think of how water moves. It does not resist the rocks in its path. It does not demand that the river bend to its will. It simply flows, finding a way forward, reshaping itself, carrying life as it goes. That is the power of letting go. When you stop fighting to force life into your plan, when you stop holding on to what has already passed its time, you begin to move with the current instead of against it. And in that flow, things come to you that you could never have dragged into your life through sheer force or control. The reason many feel stuck is not because life has no opportunities for them, but because they are carrying too much to receive what is new. Imagine trying to open your hands to catch something while refusing to release what you're already holding. The tighter you cling to what was, the less room you leave for what can be. Letting go is not a weakness. It is an act of courage. It is the willingness to say, even if I cannot see what's next, I trust that it is better than what I'm clinging to now. And perhaps that is what frightens us most. The uncertainty of what comes after the release. We tell ourselves stories: if I let go of this relationship, I will be alone forever. If I release this job, I will lose security. If I stop holding on to this version of myself, I will lose who I am. But the truth is, what you let go of is not your identity, it is your limitation. What you release is not your future, it is your past. You are not losing yourself, you are making room for yourself to expand. Have you ever noticed that some of the greatest breakthroughs in your life came not when you tried harder, but when you finally surrendered? When you stopped obsessing, stopped forcing, stopped demanding, and simply allowed things to unfold, suddenly doors opened. Opportunities arrived. Clarity appeared. This is not because you became passive. It is because you aligned with the rhythm of life. You stopped pushing against the tide and allowed it to carry you forward. That is the essence of letting go. There will always be a part of you that wants certainty, that wants guarantees before releasing the old. But certainty is not the soil where transformation grows. Faith is. Faith says, I will step forward even without knowing exactly where it leads. Faith says, I will trust that life holds more for me than I can currently see. And it is in that trust that the flow is unlocked. So many of us believe that control will keep us safe, but control only builds walls. It blocks the very changes we are praying for. The moment you release the need to control every detail, you open the door for something larger, wiser, and far more beautiful than your limited plan. Control creates tension, letting go creates freedom. And in freedom, life can finally surprise you. The turning points you are waiting for often do not arrive until you prove that you are willing to release what is no longer meant for you. The relationship ends, and though it hurts, you discover a love more aligned with your soul. The job ends, and though it feels like loss, it ushers in a purpose that was waiting for you all along. The version of yourself that you once protected so fiercely falls away, and suddenly you realize you are more than you ever thought you could be. That is the paradox. Letting go feels like death in the moment, but it is always birth. So do not be afraid of what slips from your hands. Do not cling to what has already served its purpose. Trust the release, trust the emptiness, trust the flow. For it is only when your hands are open that you are able to receive what life has been trying to place there all along. And the moment you let go, you unlock the flow that carries you into the very change you have been waiting for. Pain has a way of making us believe that something is wrong with us, that life is punishing us, that we are somehow being singled out for suffering. When the weight is heavy, when the nights feel long, when the heart aches in silence, it is natural to assume that we are being broken. But pain is not here to punish you. It is here to awaken you. It is not a sign that you are failing. It is a messenger, pointing directly to the places within you that are asking to be healed, transformed, and strengthened. Without that message, without that sharp awareness that something must change, most of us would continue to walk in circles, never growing, never reaching for more than the familiar patterns that keep us stuck. Think of the times in your life when pain forced you to confront what you would have otherwise ignored. Perhaps it was the heartbreak that showed you the difference between attachment and real love. Perhaps it was the failure that stripped away your pride and revealed the humility and resilience you now carry. Perhaps it was the season of loss that taught you the depth of your own endurance. A depth you didn't know existed until everything you leaned on was taken away. These moments were not punishments. They were lessons. They were doorways. They were invitations into a greater version of yourself, one that could not have been born in comfort. The truth is, comfort rarely changes us. We grow only when something shakes us, when something pierces through the illusions we've built, when something unsettles the foundation we've grown too used to. Pain steps in when we've gone too far in the wrong direction, when we've refused to listen to the gentler whispers of life. And though it feels harsh, it is the most honest teacher we will ever meet. It refuses to let us stay the same. It will not allow us to shrink back into who we used to be. It demands our attention, and in that demand, it grants us the chance to transform. But here is the paradox: in the middle of pain, it never feels like growth. It feels like loss, like confusion, like darkness. You do not see the hidden gifts while you are walking through it. Only later, when you look back, do you recognize that the pain was shaping you, chiseling away the parts of you that were not true, not lasting, not strong enough for the life ahead. What you thought was breaking you was actually remaking you. What felt like the end was, in truth, the beginning of a deeper strength. So when pain comes, the question is not, why me? The question is, what is this trying to show me? That shift in perspective changes everything. Suddenly, pain becomes purposeful. Instead of fighting it, you begin to listen. Instead of resenting it, you begin to learn from it. And when you learn, you realize that pain is not your enemy. It is the messenger that arrives when you are ready for change, when you are ready to grow, when you are ready to step into a higher version of yourself. Of course, the natural instinct is to avoid it, to numb it, to run from it. But whatever you resist only lingers longer. When you push pain away, it grows louder, because its message has not yet been received. The way through is not denial but acceptance. It is sitting with it, listening to it, asking it what it has come to teach you. In that stillness, you begin to discover truths that were hidden beneath the surface. You realize you are stronger than you thought, that your spirit is more resilient than you ever imagined, that you can endure what once felt impossible. And once the lesson has been absorbed, once the transformation has taken root, the pain does not need to stay. It passes. Like a storm, it clears the sky, leaving the air fresher, the ground softer, the world somehow brighter than it was before. You come out of it changed, sometimes scarred, yes, but also wiser, deeper, more alive. The very thing you thought would destroy you becomes the thing that defines your strength. So do not curse the pain that has entered your life. Do not assume it is proof that you are unworthy or forgotten. See it for what it truly is: a message, a guide, a sculptor shaping you into who you were always meant to be. Let it do its work. Let it strip away what no longer belongs. Let it reveal to you the resilience and light that were hidden beneath the surface of your being. For in the end, pain is never the punishment. It is the pathway. And when you embrace it as such, you realize that even in your darkest hours, life has been working for you, not against you. And the pain you carry now is only shaping the strength you will soon become. So often we believe that what we are waiting for is far away, distant, and unreachable. We imagine the breakthrough as something that will come years from now, after endless effort, after climbing a mountain of struggles. But the truth is, you are much closer than you think. The change you have been praying for, working for, and longing for is not sitting somewhere in the distant future. It is already in motion. The seeds have already been planted, the roots are already growing underground, and the shift is quietly unfolding, even if you cannot yet see its surface. Life has a way of moving in silence before it moves in sight. Think of how dawn comes. The first light appears while most of the world is still sleeping. Long before the sun rises fully, the sky has already begun to shift. You don't notice it until the colors start to brighten, but the transformation began long before you could see it. That is how change works. What feels like delay is often preparation. What feels like waiting is often timing. Just because you don't see the breakthrough does not mean it isn't already happening. The greatest challenge in this space is that it tests your patience and your faith. It's easy to give up when you see nothing moving. It's easy to believe that all your work, all your endurance, all your prayers have been ignored. But the truth is, the silence is not the absence of movement. It is the presence of unseen work. Life is aligning people, opportunities, and circumstances in ways that you could never arrange on your own. It is making sure that when your moment arrives, you are ready to carry it, and that it will arrive in the way that serves your growth most deeply. You may have thought you've been walking in circles, repeating the same patterns, but every step you've taken has been building a foundation. The lessons that felt unnecessary, the struggles that seemed endless, the detours that frustrated you, all of it has been part of the path. Without realizing it, you have been gathering strength, wisdom, and resilience that will allow you to hold what is coming. This is why you cannot measure your progress only by what you see. You must also measure it by what you've become. And you have become far more prepared than you give yourself credit for. Many times the shift comes suddenly, without warning. You wake up one day and the opportunity you've been waiting for appears. The door that was always closed swings open. The clarity that felt so distant becomes undeniable. And it feels like it happened overnight, but in reality, it was years in the making. Every tear, every effort, every choice, every season of waiting led you here. The quiet build up prepared the ground, and then in a single moment, everything looks different. This is why it is so important not to quit in the middle. So many give up right before the turning point. They let the silence convince them that nothing is happening. They let impatience close their hearts just as life was about to open a new chapter. But if you can endure the waiting, if you can remain steady when nothing seems to be moving, you will step into a shift that makes the struggle worth it. You will see that the delay was never denial. It was alignment. And there is something powerful in realizing that your life can change in a moment. A single decision, a single opportunity, a single connection, a single breakthrough can transform everything you thought was impossible. This does not mean you sit back passively. It means you walk forward with faith, doing your part, while trusting that life is already arranging the rest. You prepare yourself inwardly, and when the moment arrives, you step into it with the fullness of who you have become. So if you feel wary, if you feel as though nothing is shifting, if you are tempted to believe that your season has passed, hear this: you are closer than you realize. The change you long for is not waiting for some distant day. It is already reaching for you. The turning point may be just one step away, one sunrise away, one choice away. Do not let the silence deceive you. Do not let the waiting break you. Everything you have endured has been leading you here. And right now, this very moment, is the edge of the change you have been waiting for.